No, it's not. I think we're live. Hey, we're live. We skipped
We
the
are
intro
live. No intro.
because we are late. We are very late. I made dinner tonight, and it was really, really good. And I couldn't pull myself away to talk about Zelensky,
And
who
Trump, and Putin,
and Trump and Putin and Medvedev, everybody. Welcome, Sailing On Podcast. Haven't done this in a while, have we?
yeah.
We got all of one person watching.
Ninjaru 88, he's out there. He's been waiting
Ninja,
patiently.
Ninjaroo, appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being
I'm
there. Can you
surprised he
hear
didn't
me?
run when I threatened to go on and sing for him.
Hey, we got two in the chat now, or at least two online. So thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. We're running a little bit late, as always. But yeah, here to talk about a nothing burger. Is that
Yeah.
how we want to phrase this? Because I even had some. And by the way, guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, today, May 15th. May 15th, Putin suggested, invited, otherwise said, hey, Ukraine and all interested parties, we're going to meet in Istanbul on the 15th. Be there or be square. And we'll hash this out. In other words, basically what he said was, we will pick up where we left off
In
when
2022. Yep.
Ukraine walked away from the negotiating table.
But what did the Western media make out of it, Eddie? Putin
I don't know,
promised to go
didn't
meet
pay attention.
Zelensky and 30-day ceasefire before they can talk. And that actually came out of them again today.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, Raymond's in the chat. Thank you. Yes, we will have Cheetos tomorrow. We will have
And mints.
icebreakers tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, and it's perfect timing, too. I'll tell you more about that, Raymond, tomorrow. But yeah, so.
So I
Go
was
ahead.
wandering through the news channels about a half an hour ago, and I see a lot of Western press trying to frame Vladimir Putin as weak and unwilling to negotiate because he did not show up to meet his good friend Volodymyr Zelensky.
Those
However-
were. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, however, what did your thumbnail say?
Well, Trumpster had something to say. And he said, nothing will happen until I and Putin meet.
So I have a little video of Trump from this morning in Qatar.
Ah, go for it.
Are you disappointed by that?
No, I didn't anticipate. I actually said, why would he go if I'm not going? Because I wasn't going to go. I wasn't planning to go. I would go, but I wasn't planning to go. And I said, I don't think he's going to go if I don't go. And that turned out to be right. But we have people there. Marco, as you know, is doing a fantastic job. Marco's there, Secretary of State, and we have people there. But I didn't think it was possible for Putin to go if I'm not there. Jennifer?
Do you have an update, sir, on this?
So that's from his mouth this morning. Well, our morning.
Our morning. Yeah. So, is he trying to say that Putin's not going because I'm not going, and I'm not going because Putin's not going, or we're chasing, somebody's tail? But
I think,
it kind of
I think
sounds
it-
to me. Go ahead.
what does it sound like to you?
Well, before I get to that analysis, let's dig in a little more. Okay, so Zelensky came out with talking points that were prepared for him. I've heard this 2-3 days ago or more.
Mm-hmm.
I think it happened right after President Putin called the press conference, which was Saturday night, I believe, and said, "We're going back to the negotiating table. We'll be there in Istanbul on May 15th. Be there, be square." And I think the talking points dropped on Vladimir Zelensky's Signal app on his phone, and he started posting. And basically, what did he say? Putin is weak. He will not show up. He is scared to meet me, and I'm not going because he won't be there. And then I guess there was an adjustment to the message. Maybe Daddy Trump got on the phone and suddenly Zelensky changed his mind and said, "Okay, I will go, but Putin's not going because he's weak. He fears me. He will not stand to be in the same room with me." Something to that effect. And then now we hear that same talking point being trumpeted all across, no pun intended, by the way, but trumpeted all around Europe and EU and NATO and all that good stuff.
You know, the other interesting thing is you just heard Trump say that Rubio was there, yet Zelensky is saying it's nothing but propaganda theater because Russia sent a bunch of low-level guys. Now, let's see. It's the Assistant Secretary of State, the second in command under Lavrov. Not exactly small potatoes. Marco Rubio, not small potatoes. How would you like to be Zelensky getting into the room after hearing, having Rubio hear him say that about him?
Yeah, well, maybe he had a snort
Or three?
before he walked in the room, or before he said those comments, not realizing he's got to walk in that room. But Zelensky did meet with Erdogan for about 3 hours, I believe. And I wonder how that discussion went. Care to comment on that? Because I haven't seen anything official come out about that.
I haven't heard anything come out. I haven't even heard confirmation from Erdogan that he met with Zelensky.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The only thing I heard today is that he's in Istanbul. His team is in Istanbul. Russia sent the guy who was in charge of the negotiations in Istanbul last time. And that it all started out with Ukraine demanding a 30-day unconditional ceasefire before they would proceed. So that's the only thing I've heard out of anything today.
Wow. So I'm reading this. This is on X from Zlati71. Of course, Zelensky called the Russian delegation theatrical, headed by Vladimir Medinsky, who, by the way, was head of the delegation in 2022 when they walked away.
Yeah.
And Zelensky says, in quotes, "Let's see if they have a mandate to make decisions." Those are mighty big words. I wonder who fed those words to Zelensky. And he goes on to say...
The guy who has the law that says he has no right to make any decisions?
Yeah. Zelensky added that the decision on Ukraine's participation in negotiations with Russia would be announced after his meeting with Turkish President Erdogan, which, according to him, could last several hours. So, basically, we got nothing. I have this out. Russian delegation in Istanbul is ready to work. The West needs to take and sit Kyiv down at the negotiating table. A quote from the Russian Foreign Ministry. So, I don't know. I don't think anything's going to come out of it. So,
I think you are correct.
now let's go back and dissect Trump's statement that he made. And of course, his big quote, which is on my thumbnail: nothing's going to happen until Putin and I meet. I think, of course, I could be wrong. I have an opinion. Some people call it propaganda, but propaganda is opinion. Is it not? My opinion is this. I think it's already been decided. There will be a meeting between President Trump and President Putin, and
Yep.
this will be decided, but there has to be intermediate steps. You know, we've got to exhaust every possible situation. Let no stone be unturned. And I think this one, hey, let's pick up where we left off. Let's just pick up where we left off. You guys walked out of the room, walked back into the same room with the same delegation, led by the same chairperson from when you left in 2022, and let's resume. I think that's brilliant. That's great. They walk away from this. I believe that there will be a rapid, how should I say this? A rapid decline in favoritism toward Zelensky for whatever clout he still has with some people, because some people refuse to see the truth in this situation. But I think that we will start to see a hastening of the erosion of support for the man himself. Just my opinion.
I think you are correct. I think as things go on, Ukraine is going to be in a worse and worse position. In fact, I don't remember his name. I heard one of the Ukrainian ministers on the news back about a week ago, and saying that, the time to have settled this was when they could have lost just Crimea, and then it was time to settle it again when they were talking about 4 regions, and soon it will be 6, and then 8, and the longer it goes on, the more they will lose. And I think that's absolutely correct if you look at what's going on the front lines right now. Ukraine, despite any support that they're getting from the West, the United States included, because the United States is still providing money and military aid to them, they're failing. Their front lines are collapsing.
Absolutely. I just opened up X, and then I saw this, and I was like, huh? I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says, Moscow photographer is live. And I'm like, what? Oh, I am live. I am live on X. I forgot.
Yeah.
Wow, there's 2 people. Photographer is live. And I'm like,
So
it's crazy.
I,
All right.
I did just look here, and Zelensky never did show up at the talks after he talked to Erdogan.
Oh, no.
And they did spend 3 hours talking. And it says here that Erdogan made several specific statements regarding the peace process when he met with Zelensky. Said he emphasized the current phase of the war between Ukraine and Russia, meaning, hey, dude, you're losing. It requires a solution through direct negotiations, and they should sit down in the room, their teams, and negotiate. He said this is a historic opportunity to initiate discussions. And he stressed the importance of maintaining open dialogue channels and to engage on their minimally shared interests.
I wonder what else was said.
Who knows? Hey, Ray, this is personal opinion, and I don't often give my opinion because, opinions are like buttholes. You get close enough, they all stink. But I think Zelensky never has anyone with him. It's not really true. He actually has a team there. Who's there? Umarov, head of his ministry, defense ministry.
Yeah,
but
I
you
remember
only
reading
see
it, but I don't know
him.
who's there.
Yeah, but the last several days, he has made many, many statements saying that the only one that the law in Ukraine about not negotiating with Russia or Putin that isn't covered is him. He is the only one in the entire country that is allowed to negotiate peace for Ukraine. That this law that he had passed saying that nobody in Ukraine could talk to Russia, he is exempt from it. So, yeah, I think he thinks, depending on how much white stuff goes up his nose, that he's king of the world, basically.
Well, basically, also, if you've paid attention, you'll notice that no one in his cabinet has as much screen time, either on social media, mainstream media, on the networks, as Zelensky does. So
Yeah, but
he does have a team.
Yeah, but he also has a media production company, a multi-million-dollar media production company. And if you look at a lot of his prior battleground scenes where he's on the front lines with his men, you can see the green screen behind him. And I've had people say, oh, it can't be a green screen because he's always wearing a green t-shirt. His t-shirt does not fall in the realm of the green screen colors. I have worn green in front of my green screen just to prove this point. So,
yeah, and I wish I could download this video and upload it to share it, but I can't. But this is on RT at the moment. And this is a Ukrainian ex-diplomat, Andrei Delegation. He shares some insight exclusively with RT. He says Zelensky is negotiating with London and Paris, not listening to Washington anymore. But I think that's been a given. But the thing is, he still has to listen to Washington.
why is that? Because Europe, whether they think they do or not, still has to listen to Washington?
Not only that, but last I heard, Raytheon and Lockheed Martin and Boeing and L3 and who else are all American companies, and they all manufacture weapons for Ukraine.
Oh, and they also manufacture weapons for Europe.
And Europe.
Hence the reason the United States is going to continue funneling stuff to them. Now, this is an interesting thing. Eddie and I talked about this a little earlier today, but Trump is framing the current military and monetary aid to Ukraine as approved by the Biden administration, and he does not have the authority to cut it off. So he has to let it continue flowing until what Biden approved is all gone. And what do you think of that, Eddie?
I think it's a convenient way for Trump to continue to funnel arms and some support to Ukraine to have some leverage there without being the bad guy,
Yeah.
without taking the blame that, hey, you are continuing this. But as Ninja says it's a bag of BS. Well, of course it is.
Yep. Because who keeps the government in business in the United States but the military industrial guys making all the money off of this conflict?
Yeah, it is a huge, huge economy in the United States. We are the largest exporter, I believe we still are, of arms. Oh, speaking of, and I should have put this up there. Maybe I will. I don't know. I got to take a screenshot and send it up. But anyway, so Sprinter Observer again on X. Trump talking about Iranian drones. He says Iranian drones are fast, deadly, and terrifying. I told one American company that I needed a lot of drones. This is Trump speaking. In Iran, good drones are made for $35,000 to $40,000 a piece. 2 weeks later, this company came to me and brought a drone worth $41 million. I told them that's not what I meant. I meant a drone that would cost $35,000 or $40,000 max. These drones are very fast, deadly, and scary. Well, hey, President Trump, I got an idea for you. Why don't you buy drones from Iran?
You get them cheap.
You get them cheap, and you get
They
them
should
by
be effective
the gross.
because they should be pretty damn effective because they are in Ukraine.
And they've been bringing down your Reapers that cost $41 million. Hello? I'd just go make a deal with Iran, personally. Just saying.
So, speaking of the U.S. military-industrial complex, guess what Trump was signing in Qatar today?
Odious.
Hey, Odious. Good to see you, bro. I was thinking about you earlier today.
Yeah.
So Trump is taking credit, first of all, for the fact that they are ordering 210 Boeing 777s and Boeing 787 jets valued at $96 billion. Now, when I look at Trump laying claim to that deal being his, they could have bought those planes from Boeing by themselves without Trump involved. However, they are selling MQ-9B Reaper drones to Qatar for $2 billion and counter drone systems from Raytheon valued at $1 billion. They're giving additional defense agreements worth $42 billion, including American military hardware, Pegasus refueling aircraft, and MQ-9B drones. So Trump wants a bunch of drones because he's selling off all the United States' drones that keep getting shut down.
Yeah. And I think what he's looking at is more tactical drones rather than the big strategic drones like the Reapers and things like that, more for battlefield. But, buy drones from Russia. They're upgraded versions of Iranian drones.
Graded Shahid stuff.
Oh, man. I tell you what, man. One of these days it will happen. And it won't be soon. Hopefully, hey, John, whatever, man. John Scott. One of these days, American Airlines or United or who knows what company, maybe Southwest, is going to buy a Russian airliner. It's going to happen. It may be 10 years from now, 15 years. It's going to happen. Or they'll buy a Chinese-made jetliner soon as well.
Yeah. I just had a bright idea come up after he mentioned John Scott out there. Since he is so supportive, I think he should do what we know people have done here. He should go fight for the Ukrainians.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah. So this one in Qatar struck me as kind of odd because they've been raking President Putin over the coals because he brought, I forget what they're called, those fancy presidential limos that Putin drives around in. He gave one to Kim Jong-un.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, oh, it's awful he did that. Well, the Qatari royal family gave Trump a 747-8 jetliner for him to use because they haven't made the new Air Force Ones for him yet.
Hey, what's the deal with that? We haven't really investigated that, but this new presidential Air Force One was ordered back in 2017, 2018 from Boeing?
Yeah.
And at that time, Boeing was behind schedule on 747s. So what they decided to do, no. It was too expensive. It was too expensive, and Trump said, no way, I'm not paying that kind of money for it.
He signed a fixed price deal with them.
Boeing came back and said, we got a couple of used 747s in the back, low miles. We'll put new tires on them, new paint, new electronics, all the good stuff, and we'll let you have it at a good deal. Do what?
A banana in the gearbox.
A banana in the gearbox. So, yeah, they're used Boeings. Used Boeing 747s. Look it up. I shit you not. That was the deal Boeing came up with to lower the price. And they still haven't delivered on them.
And part of the reason they haven't delivered on them, I've got a friend who's a pilot out of Norway, and he's talked about this on his stream. He said the problem Boeing's got is because they got the price down using those used 747s, they signed a fixed price contract for it. So they have cost overruns, but they can't charge the government for them. And the FAA stepped in and said, well, because you're converting old aircraft to fly in new days, you have to bring them up to standards. So they've had to strip all the old avionics and wiring out and everything out because they used to run as one bundle down the middle of the aircraft. And they've got to have them on opposite sides now in case one fails.
Wow.
So Boeing
Boeing
decided to bend over and pick up the soap all on their own.
Yeah, and they still can't deliver 2 used 747s for presidential use. So you've got Qatar that says, hey, my 747, your 747. And the left went berserk.
Yep.
But, why didn't they go berserk with a contract that hasn't been fulfilled yet? And here's the thing. How many times has Boeing gone over budget, overpromised, and underdelivered? How many times?
Every time?
Every new contract proposal is awarded. How the hell does that happen? Every time. unless the government says, well, we're going to sole source this aircraft or what this vehicle, whatever we're buying. It's nuts.
Well, maybe part of the problem is Boeing has no parts to upgrade these aircraft, considering they quit making 747s.
They quit making the seven. Actually, they quit making the 747. The ones, the used ones they had. Those are the models they don't make anymore.
Well, they quit making the 747-8 that the Qataris offered Trump in January of 2023.
I think they're just making freighters now.
They aren't even making those. The last freighter was delivered on January 31st, 2023 to Atlas Air.
Oh, really? On the 747?
Yep.
Wow. I thought they were still making freighters for a while. I guess not.
Yep. I just looked it up. They ended production on January 31st when they delivered the last one.
Wow.
So what's up with the new Air Force One jets? Interesting to see what the all-knowing here has to say.
Let me just ask Gruck. You're asking another one, right? I'm sure, right?
Yep. Yeah, it was scheduled for delivery in 2024, and they don't expect the first flight to take place till 2026, with delivery anticipated in 2027. So it seems like Trump may not get to fly on one of these.
That's crazy.
Interior supply transitions, manpower limitations, wiring design complication issues.
Yeah, and then they're also blaming COVID.
Yeah.
That COVID-19 disrupted progress. Crazy. Let's see what else they got to say about this. So Trump has pushed for interim solutions because of Boeing's delays, and the administration is exploring accepting a 747-8 previously owned by Qatar's royal family, which would be retrofitted with L3 Harris technologies for use as a temporary Air Force One. The jet, valued at $400 million, requires extensive modifications, potentially costing taxpayers up to $1 billion for security, comms, and missile defense system. The retrofit could take years and may strain resources needed for the VC-25B program. That's the one that they paid $3.9 billion in 2018 for. So, wow. Boeing and the Air Force are discussing relaxed requirements to expedite VC-25B delivery, but the program remains years behind schedule. Trump has publicly criticized Boeing, with some reports suggesting he tasked Elon Musk to pressure the company for faster results. Yeah. I don't know what that means. I mean, does that mean that just Elon goes over there and says, work faster, work faster?
Yeah. Well,
Crazy.
It's interesting because even, what they're saying here is even if he accepts the Qatari aircraft, he's got to wait for it to be retrofitted.
I think this is nuts. This is crazy.
Elon
that
can
they're
fix
still
it.
dealing with this. Huh?
Elon can fix it. He
I mean,
will go
Elon
in,
could.
he'll fire half of the employees at Boeing, tell the rest of them to work harder, and give them a PowerPoint slide with 5 points telling them what they've accomplished in the last week.
I just wonder, with all the crap that Boeing's had, I mean, Boeing has had a rough few years. Why not just take Airbus's latest and greatest, their A350, and deck it up? They could have probably done this by now and delivered it, but they won't. Why? Because it's not an American company.
Yep.
That's why.
Yeah, well, there's other aircraft they could do too, but same problem.
Yep. So
After all,
anyway,
you can't trust those European allies not to load it full of bugs and spy on them like we do to them.
China. Why not? Buy a Chinese jet.
Well, yeah, I mean the Chinese are spying on us and everything they sell us anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we've said it here many, many times. Dude, everybody spies on everyone. Everyone.
I don't
And the
know.
thing is, with the internet, with social media, there is so much open source spying that anybody can spy. You have no privacy. None.
Yeah.
Not online.
Oh hell, not in your home either.
Not in your home either. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah. Where did your
Go ahead.
television come from?
My television, Samsung, so I guess Korea, with probably
with-
parts made in Taiwan
China.
or China.
So tell us a story.
Oh, what story was I going to tell you guys? Man, I had it on the tip of my tongue, and then it just left.
I
What the
snatched
hell
it
was
out
I
of your
gonna tell
mouth
you?
and threw it away.
What were we talking about before? Just right now.
We were talking about Trump buying a Chinese plane, like a CR-929,
Ah,
or Boeing going bust, or
I can't
why
remember.
he wouldn't buy a non-American plane.
It had to do with spying. You've heard of Canva? You've heard of
Yeah.
Canva. Okay,
Yeah.
so Canva is a web-based media creator. Okay, you can use it to make all kinds of things like thumbnails or artwork or even little video reels. You can do all kinds of things with Canva. Well, I've had a Canva account for years and years. It's subscription based, but ever since SMO, they don't like the fact that I'm in Russia. So I have to use a VPN to access Canva, because if I don't, I get this screen, and then maybe the next time we do a live stream, I'll call Canva out, and I'll actually post a screenshot of what I see. I get
with
the
big
Ukrainian flag
and-
and this statement that says, "Oh my gosh, we oppose the full-scale military invasion by the Russian forces, yada, yada, yada. If you want all of your previous artwork and all that, you have so many days to download it, and you can contact," yeah, the whole thing. The thing is, I use a VPN to access it. Some VPNs are blocked, and some aren't. Sometimes I have to go searching for a VPN to work to get into Canva. But There's no privacy. That's what I'm saying. They still
Yeah.
know me. They know where I'm at. But
And
they sure like my $15 every month, though.
yeah, absolutely. They're still taking mine too. You know, the interesting thing is, yeah, you know, they can see under the VPNs. People say, I'm going to use a VPN for privacy. It doesn't give you privacy. Google can see very easily underneath your VPN. I probably have the most problems with them, sites hosted by them. Not Google themselves, but sites hosted by them. Who owns and controls the VPN? Well, it's a complex subject, and I'll try to give you as simple of an answer as I can. The companies who are creating the VPN, the algorithms are actually controlled much by the United States government, because any encryption controls that are used within the United States have to be approved by the US government for use in other countries. Governments, like in Russia, can and do block VPNs, and it's all about the protocol on the internet. You know, they can simply, you know, in Russia, they do it all the time. They switch a knob, and most Western VPNs won't work here. You know, some work well. Some guys probably are, shall we say, good at bypassing things. Ninjaru, you know, reality is intelligence agency linked entities don't control VPN, but they can see through it. And having come out of that world, I can tell you there is nothing, absolutely zero, you can hide from intelligence of any country. Using a VPN, buying and selling crypto, everything that the commercial world sells you as privacy based is private to everybody except the intelligence agencies.
Yeah.
Didn't mean
You
to
know,
go off on a tangent, Eddie. Sorry.
no, but I mean, if you want to access your Paramount account, your Netflix account, your, I don't know, Amazon account, VPN, right? That's the way you do it.
Yeah.
And you could spoof it enough to get through their filters and access your account. But if you think the VPN is giving you any type of anonymity online, you're not. You're not. You might as well just come on YouTube, go live, and broadcast it to the entire world.
Like
You're
these two
basically
idiots
doing it
do?
anyway. Do what?
Like these two idiots do?
Like these two idiots are doing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Now I got some low-level employee with Canva trying to look up who's Moscow photographer, who's worry-free Russia, who's this guy. Yeah, he's accessing Canva from Russia.
Yep.
So, what do we expect tomorrow from this Nothing Burger in Istanbul? Does everybody go home? It's Friday. Everybody goes home?
What I expect from this Nothing Burger tomorrow is maybe a little mustard.
Mustard?
Yeah, squirt a little mustard on it and send everyone
I
home.
gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah. But what will happen after that?
I think we will
What's the next step?
I think we will go back to the same old, same old. I've got a quote here. I need to find this quote to put up. Here we go. And I have no idea where this quote came from other than some guy that uses the name Ministry of Absolute Truth. Peace does not begin with the sound of silence. It begins with the end of delusions. Until both sides speak truth at the table, we're not negotiating peace, we're rehearsing propaganda. And I think that's what we're doing. I think we're rehearsing propaganda right now.
Well said.
I think that as long as Ukraine holds on to the ceasefire before talks position, and as long as Russia is trouncing them on the battlefield, I think nothing changes for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, we had that discussion earlier. And as I said earlier, I think this situation will remain kinetic for the foreseeable future. Hopefully not. Maybe not. But that remains to be seen.
Yep.
Remains to be seen. So, trying to see if there's anything new on X, but most of what I see are memes of people making fun of Zelensky or fun of Trump. Not much going on.
Yep. Well, it's okay. I'm going to have to wrap anyway. I've got Mama trying to call me from your end of the world, so.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you what. We've kind of wrapped this up because, like I said, it's a nothing burger. So, how long, George wants to know, how the off-topic question, how long is that?
90 days.
Apostille valid for Russia 702, 90 days.
And depending on the region you're going to, and if you were using the right attorney, you may be able to get it taken if it's up to 30 days expired. May be able.
Yeah. But the clock
Crimea
is 90
won't
days.
happen. 90 days to the day, period.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Just wanted to talk about what nothing happened in Istanbul today. If nothing happens tomorrow, you won't hear from us.
Maybe if nothing happens tomorrow, they will hear from us. So.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. All right, folks. Thank you all so much. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Enjoy your day, evening, morning, wherever you are. Catch you later. Пока.
Пока.